welcome back to the Met Opera Global Summer Camp Career Corner. I am your camp counselor, Susan Blackwell. I am so happy to be here with you today. And I'm also so curious. I just actually asked you in the chat, where are you watching from? And another thing I'm super curious about is, what is the coolest thing that's happened at camp this week? If you have a second, let me know by throwing it into the chat thread. And I want to, Maggie's from San Jose, Alonso's from Mexico. I have to tell you, Estonia, I love that we have people from all over the world who are hanging out with this. Yes, I was notified that I had been named Super Susan, that is my superhero name. And I have to tell you, I'm here for it. And I feel it from the inside. Hi, Naomi from California. Look at this. This is so exciting. I love this. I love that we can all be in all these different places, enjoying this camp, enjoying opera. Hi, Una. I hope the weather is nice in Philadelphia today. This is so awesome. Los Angeles, California. This is the best. Colorado. Yes, Colorado. Colorado, you have to, Germany. This is blowing my mind. I feel like we could just spend 60 minutes of me having my mind blown by where you're watching from. So I'm also curious, what is the coolest thing that you have done so far this week in camp? If you want to let me know, you can throw it in the thread. Vancouver, yes. The funnest thing that happened is everything. I feel that same way, Gracie. While I'm waiting to hear from you, I want to remind you that you can watch The Merry Widow for free until tomorrow. If you have already seen it, I'm also curious what the coolest part was, what your favorite part was of The Merry Widow. But all of that is just like, that's just the overture. That's just the preamble. We are so excited for today's discussion. And I want you to know, as always, you're going to have a chance to ask our special guest questions using the chat feature. So once we get started, I'm going to ask that you focus those chat comments on questions that relate to our conversation, so that my eyeballs will be able to pick out some good questions and share them with our guests. So thanks in advance for that. Miriam, you loved everything. I feel that way. I feel that way in life, and I feel that way at the summer camp. I'm so excited to welcome this guest to today's Career Corner. She has an absolutely fascinating job at the Metropolitan Opera. But before we bring her on, I want to take a look at this very cool video that the New York Times made, and it will give you a little taste of her work at the Met. Let's take a look.
My title here at the Metropolitan Opera is the Solo Ladies Wardrobe Supervisor. Ready? I take care and maintain the costumes for the production. I tell everyone I'm sort of the therapist, best friend, the mom. You know, I mean, it's not just about putting clothes on someone and taking them off. It's actually being there and making sure that they feel, loved and adored, and that their needs are met, so that when they go on stage, all they have to worry about is singing.
Just because I love you.
Oh, Jesus. Great. That's great. This is Otello, which is this week. Carmen, which is this week. Anything that they see and want on stage, I make sure it gets on the diva and take care of it. If it needs to be sewn, fixed, if it needs to be laundered, if it needs to be pressed, steamed, that's what I do. I have reached new and exciting heights. I am now doing quick changes under tables. I sneak out amongst the chorus, and I literally get under a table. You heard me, a table laid out with a feast on top. And I'm sitting there with a little miner's light on my head, and I change her. Believe it or not, this dress is the quick change. I think we have something like 3 minutes. She comes back in the room, and you're just peeling clothes off for her, and there's 3 of us trying to do makeup, hair, and get her in the dress at the same time. All right, that's it.
Oh, I love her so much, and I know that you are going to love her too. Would you please welcome to the Career Corner the Met's Solo Ladies Wardrobe Supervisor, Susan Gomez-Pizzo.
Hi,
everyone. Hey,
It's so nice to see you.
it's nice to see you guys too.
Where are you zooming in from? Where
My
are you?
apartment in Midtown New York City.
How's life in New York City?
It's getting busier and busier. It really, really is. People are sort of coming. The weather is very warm, so today's not a good example. But people have been coming out in droves now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I hope that means, oh, Marantha
Hello.
says hello.
Yes,
Now,
thank you.
can I ask you, what do you prefer to be called? Do you prefer to be called
Susie. You guys
Susie?
can call me Susie. Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's what
Thank
everybody
you.
else calls me.
We will call you Susie. And I just have to, normally we usually have questions from the chat a little bit later in the episode, but a
Yeah.
question has come in, Susie, that I would like to know the answer to, and it is
Okay.
this. It's from Una. Do you go all out for Halloween?
Unfortunately, I used to in my youth. Now, we're usually working on Halloween Day, and at the
Right.
Met, we rehearse one show in the morning and we do another in the evening. That's part of our rep. So it's usually a very busy day.
Yes.
So no, I hate to disappoint. I do not dress up. However, in the costume shop where they make the costumes for the production, they do a little Halloween parade and they all dress up and come down to us because really I'm stuck on stage.
Yes, Alexandra, we've got two Susans. Let it blow your mind today. Wait, do you mean the adults do a
The
costume
adults
parade?
dress up for Halloween because they are the costume shop and
Yes.
they've been very creative over the years.
Yes.
And they come down and usually I'm actually on stage. I've only seen the parade in 14 years once. I miss it because they come by the principal area where the artists dress, but I'm never there. I'm always on stage doing something.
You're too busy. You're
Yeah,
too busy working.
unfortunately. So I don't enjoy Halloween like I used to, which is a real travesty.
Did you when you were little?
Oh, yeah. I love dressing up. Oh my
Were
God.
you-
Yes. Yes. It was my
And
favorite thing.
Did you have all those skills? Were you able to build costumes for
Yeah,
yourself?
really. By college, I definitely did. You know, like I remember going, those of you who grew up on Sesame Street as Miss Piggy. And I took a clown nose and I put foam over it and I carved a nose and then I made myself pink and I made myself a fat suit. And I mean, yeah.
I would pay
Yeah.
I'd pay cash money to see a photo of that.
I don't know.
I'm just putting that out there. So Susie, we are so excited that you're joining us in the Career Corner. Before we get started, I always like to do a little something that I call 60-second life story. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and you have to tell us your entire life story. Don't leave out the awesome parts. No pressure. Starting now.
Grew up in New York City. Knew very early on that I wanted to do costume design or be involved in costume because I used to watch a lot of TV, MGM musicals. Loved the clothes. Found out that the person, because I liked history and clothes, found out that existed in a job called a costume designer. Went to SUNY Purchase, studied costume design, and when I graduated, realized that I wanted to be a part of production. So unfortunately, the designer designs and leaves. So that's how I ended up in wardrobe because you're a part of the show. And I love being around that craziness backstage.
You have a full 22 seconds left.
Oh, and I did about 20 years on Broadway. Started out with dance companies, then did about 20 years on Broadway, star dressing, assisting, supervising. And then I ended up at the Met.
10 seconds.
Started at the Met, my first job when I graduated, as a shopper in the shop. Left that when I got a job to do wardrobe for dance and toured the world. Then I ended up at the Met again.
You packed so much into 60 seconds. That was a hot 60-second life story. And as Fan just mentioned, we love 60-second life story. And that was so well done. Thank you, Susie. So you are, say your exact job title again.
Solo Ladies Wardrobe Supervisor. There are 6 supervisors at the Met and a head of wardrobe that oversees the 6 of us.
And when you say solo ladies, does that mean the solo ladies like out in front, like the stars of the opera?
The principal women and the principal women only.
That's fancy. That is a very fancy job. Now, what does that mean, like on a day-to-day basis? What does that mean that you're actually doing?
Well, it's a very long day, but when you get in, we start at 8:30 in the morning.
No.
Yes, we do. We set up for the 10:30, 11 o'clock rehearsal. And because we're in reps, things can't stay in a room like they do on Broadway or where they're on stage where they're supposed to be. You have to physically move everything into the room.
All those puzzle pieces have to get out of the way.
What goes out on stage gets preset on stage. And then then I usually go to my computer and I'm trying to do notes or revisions from what happened the day before just to keep up. Then I hand those out to the crew when they get in. I don't actually get a crew till half hour. I'm doing all this by myself. Throwing in the laundry from the night before, which my laundry room's on the second floor. So I have to run up there, throw the laundry, come back down, set up the room, get to my computer, try to answer as many emails as I can because I'm physically not at my desk again till about 2:30, the end of rehearsal. So it's pretty cray-cray. I mean, it's juggling.
But wait a second. Your day continues on, and
Correct.
you have to be there in the evening as well to dress those solo ladies.
I usually get to leave about 3:30, and I'm due back at 6:30 for the evening performance.
It's a good thing.
And then you're there till, well, if it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, you know.
Lena's saying that's amazing. I'm saying that's amazing. So you have sort of like a split day.
Correct. And I get a lot done in that split day. Doctor's appointments if I can, or I run home and I do whatever it is I have to do. I have a life, sort of.
But it's sort of like a life sandwich. So you have sort of like work, and then you have
life sandwich.
That's crazy. You live in Midtown Manhattan, so do you
Correct.
live
I'm
near
very
the
close
theater?
to the Opera House. It takes me 12 minutes to walk there. I'm no fool.
that is the way to
It
do
really
it.
is the only way to do it for me. I mean, other people travel. I always grew up in Manhattan, and when I worked on Broadway, I could walk to Broadway. So I've always been able to.
Gracie, you're right. Susie is a busy bee. So our next question is a video question, and it is from Marina in New Mexico, and it's a good one. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Marina Archuleta. I'm from New Mexico. My question is, what exactly inspired you to do this line of work? Thank you.
That is a good question.
That is a very good question.
Yeah.
Well, Maureen, I think earlier I said that I really enjoyed watching TV. I grew up very, very poor. I was a product of New York City, the housing, the whole bit. And the way I enjoyed my time off was I watched a lot of movies. Yeah. And you probably are all too young to remember MGM musicals. But that was like my whole life. I lived for these colored movies. They were done in the 30s and 40s. A lot of them starred Judy Garland. You probably don't know who she is either. But anyway.
But if you've seen Wizard of Oz, you might know Judy Garland. Yeah.
A lot of musical stars, and I was really fascinated by the clothes. The clothes really inspired me. And I liked history. I was really good at history. So I found out that there was an actual job that combined clothes or fashion and history, and that was costume design.
Do you remember about how old you were when you sort of realized that
12.
there was that job?
12. I looked it up.
12. Where? Because we didn't have the internet. Where'd you look it up?
I lived at the library. I was one of those nerdy kids.
I love it. So you love movies, you love the library. And so even though you might not have had money, you were finding those ways to get that into your brain and to learn what you needed to learn.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
That's how
It's one of the reasons why I actually love this summer camp, because it is a portal, and it's allowing people from around the world to just have access to something that they might not have access to. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. So good, Victoria, living at the library. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I didn't see a Broadway show until I was a full-on adult.
Wow.
But I loved, I could see it on PBS. I could see, great performances. And so I feel you.
Much like you, Susan, I did not have the funds to go to Broadway. So the Lincoln Center Library had all the LPs back in the day, and these audio things that you could sit and learn the musicals from. So I knew every score to every musical without ever seeing it.
Isn't that amazing? I love that. I love.
That's great, because you can take your phone and hear it all. It's even better.
Right. But these resources, like finding these resources, I think it's so important. Were you ever like an opera lover when you were younger?
No, I really my background was mostly musicals. I
Yeah.
ended up in the opera house because a friend of mine who was in school with me and had graduated 3 years ahead of me was the shopper in the costume shop, meaning that she shopped the fabrics and everything that was on stage wardrobe wise, and she was leaving to pursue a career in movies, doing costume
Ah.
design for movies, and they needed someone to take her job, so she convinced her boss at the time to hire me. So fresh out of college, I had a job at the Met,
It
which was really
seems
strange. It's all full circle. Life is very full circle.
it's amazing, but so I know it seems like so much of the wardrobe that is utilized in these operas at the Met
Mhm,
are like handmade, custom made,
mhm.
but you were a shopper. So that
Right.
means that there are pieces that you would go and purchase. What kind
But
of pieces would those
purchasing
be?
even the fabrics, I would spend all day in the fabric
Oh,
store,
of
because what you do is you'd work
course.
with the designer, find out their vision. They'd say, "Get me brocades in red," and you'd come back with 20 of them, and they would then choose which one the dress was going to be made out of.
How did you
That's how it
like that job of a shopper?
I was very young, so it was great because a lot of valuable resources for later came through that, and all the connections I made through that job. So it
Yes.
was a great job. It was a great job.
Did you like to
I
be out and
couldn't do that
about?
now all day, but yeah, at the
Yeah.
time that was a fun job.
That's I mean, you have an active job now, but that is a very active out
Yeah,
and about kind
all
of
day,
job as well.
hitting the streets all day.
Down in the garment district in New York
Yep,
City kind of thing.
correct.
That's amazing. It probably also helped that you grew up in New York and you really knew your way around.
Yes, that was an added plus.
I love that. I love that. So let's hear from Daphna in Nova Scotia, Halifax, Canada. She's got a great question for you. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Daphna and I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. My question for Susie is, what type of education do you need for a career like yours? Thank you.
It's a good question.
Great question. During I was very good in art, very very good in art.
Mm.
But
Like
they didn't have
drawing, painting, that sort of
drawing,
thing.
drawing,
Hmm.
illustration. And at the time when I went to school, because I'm kind of old, kids, back in the 70s for high school, they did not really have a high school that taught theater or design. So I figured if I had some sort of art background, that would help me for college, where I definitely knew of colleges that taught costume design. So I went to a high school of fashion industries in New York City,
Oh,
and I studied illustration, and I used that portfolio to get into SUNY Purchase into the theater arts department for costume design.
it's so interesting to hear you talk, and there's something that you have in common with the other people that have been in Career Corner. Hi, Naomi. I love that you love art.
Yeah,
Um,
good. Keep it
it's
up.
it's like all these things that you love, all these things that you're really good at have sort of woven together.
Yeah.
You've woven them
Yep.
together to arrive at this thing
Yep.
that you love doing now.
Correct.
Like all those parts of you, even growing up in New York is a piece of that, I think, and your love of knowing your way around the city.
Yeah, I never thought about it as an advantage, but I guess you're right. Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But I growing up here did not see it as such.
yes, but I think even the way now, the way that you know, when you just said, I was smart enough to have my home located near my job because your day is a little bit unconventional.
Yeah.
Like even that is, I think it's really smart how it all sort of like blends together into this
Yeah.
job that you have now. It's so good. So you were saying that if somebody wanted to pursue a career like yours,
Correct.
I do think it's smart. One way to get there is to look at how somebody you admire has done it and follow their path. But there may be somebody who's like, I'm not so great at illustrating,
Right.
but I think there still could be things that they are good at that could feed into a job like yours.
Hmm. Well, a fashion background could be very helpful
Yes.
if you wanted to pursue that route. But I think any arts background, if you're good at any of the arts, and your high school throws shows, like I didn't do shows because through fashion shows, they did not throw musicals or regular shows out there. It was just fashion. But get involved in that. Offer to be part of the crew. Offer to work on the costuming or the
Yes.
scenic elements. Not just the costuming, because it gives you a whole better picture of what's going on.
Yeah, it helps you also understand how your piece of the puzzle fits
Right.
into the larger puzzle.
Because most people, when they think of theater, they only think of in front of the curtain, the people that are singing and performing. They don't know there's a whole nother world back there, kids. There's lights, there's people. My husband builds the sets, I mean, there's a whole other world back there. And that's just as important and imperative to the production as the people that you see singing and dancing.
Yeah, it all fits together. That's amazing. Oh no, Susie, it's joke o'clock.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
I'm not going to joke.
Well, neither am I. I've never gotten one of these yet, but here we go. This is from Allison in Bloomington, Indiana. What did Mozart do when he got really sad and mad? What did Mozart do when he got really sad and mad? Susie, any ideas?
No.
He had a major breakdown. Allison, that is quality.
That's really good, Allison. That's adorable.
Well done. Well played. This was a great time for this. This is such a good question from Danny in Chicago. And I love that the question is supported by Danny's entire Luke. Let's hear it.
Hi, I'm Danny from Chicago. And I was wondering if the actors in the opera get to keep their props and costumes.
Danny, fully themed with props and costumes.
And I love the hat, Danny. Love the hat.
Come on.
No, they don't, because many times the opera can actually be performed the following year or the year after that. So we need to keep everything in-house because it may be worn by someone else later on.
That must be hard, though, because I bet sometimes they feel like this connection to it. And they're like, ooh,
and I have to be the meanie that says, nice try.
That says, put that hat down.
When this leaves the rep, or if it's going into storage, maybe we can work out a deal. I'll call you if I know it's dying, something like that. But otherwise, I can't.
Wow. Yeah. I want to take a look at this video. This is you. This is, I think, in the middle of a work evening for you. You're smack dab in the middle of production. This is Isabel Leonard. This is Anthony Roth Costanzo on the set. Marnie. Let's take a look.
My nightmare. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so old.
So you're on stage for most of the opera, and when you're off stage, you're running around changing costumes into all of your different identities. At this last performance, we actually followed you for your offstage action.
At some point I started noticing the cameras, then I started making silly faces.
That is so fun. So now we are joined by your unsung hero, Susie Gomez-Pizzo, the Met's Ladies Wardrobe Supervisor. And also, I want to say the official chief of the Isabel Leonard Pit Stop crew.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Susie.
Couldn't do it without her.
Takes a village, though.
It takes a village.
It takes a village.
We see you're giving your own tour de force performance here. Can you describe, this is 12 costume changes? Oh my gosh.
15.
15.
Let's get it right.
Okay, let's get it right. What is it like? Is it hard?
It's crazy. I mean, it takes two of us. By the way, Nancy Phillips, fabulous. She's my second, and then Juliet does the hair. I mean, it's literally, she comes off.
Sometimes
I mean, she actually has the harder job because she's got to sing after the couple seconds quick change. But it's like zzz, zzz. She comes in, we just all grab her and pull her.
And is it snaps and Velcro, and you have a head?
No Velcro.
No Velcro.
Met does not use Velcro, just so that we're all on the same page.
Classy.
Yeah. In this case, it's 1960s clothes, so there's zippers going
Lots
up
of
the
zippers.
back.
Oh my
Lots
God.
of zippers, lots of magnets, actually.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Oh, yeah.
See, we're getting the secrets. I love it. Isabel, what is the shortest? Do you know what your shortest change is?
It's coming up, I think, in the second act.
Is it like 30 seconds?
I don't know
40.
how long it is, but
40
maybe,
seconds.
Yeah, 40.
it's really
Have you ever gotten close to missing it?
all the time. Every night.
So it's
Belle.
no, I know Susie's got your back, running after you, closing anything that's not
like I
closed.
said, it's a village.
No,
It's a
when I
village.
say we miss it, it's mainly because of me. But we
No.
don't. We've never
No.
missed it once,
No.
actually.
Okay, so tell us, we want to know, what is the toughest part of your job?
when I write my tell-all, you'll be able to
Oh, I
read
see.
that.
Because she's like psychotherapist to the stars, basically.
No, I've known Susie for 12 years, and without her, I'm not sure I could do particularly this show. But a lot of the shows I've done here in the last 12 seasons, I owe a lot.
Yeah, but it's
of
always based on trust.
Yep. We have a good
that's the
friendship.
key.
and a
That's
good
the key.
relationship.
That's the key.
Isabel, I know that you have a huge social media following, and the Met has like hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm doing an Instagram takeover. Should we do a selfie?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna do it on camera. You ready, guys?
We're doing this.
I know, I love it.
that.
Okay, Susie, we need you. Yay! Thank you guys so much. It's a
welcome.
pleasure to talk. I'll send it. Don't worry. I'll
thank
text
you.
you. Okay.
I love it.
I got work to do.
Bye, guys.
Susie. So as we went into that video, you were like, Marty, my nightmare. What was those costumes, first of all, are so beautiful to me. I thought that production is so stylish and so gorgeous. But what was the nightmarish part about Marty for you?
15 quick changes. I literally spent, I think it was a 3-hour musical, 3+. I never once sat down.
I see you running.
Had to set up all the stuff, and then you ran. It was like you never changed in the same place. There were 5 different areas to change. And in some cases, the shoes that were left in stage right had to be stage left, or the earrings repeated. And I mean, it was really a logistical nightmare to figure out. Once I did it, it was very easy, but it really took a lot of time and effort on everyone's part to make it work out. And Isabel's a dream anyway, so she's very good. She's very independent. So
it's like a puzzle. And yes, Daphne brings up this thing I wanted to ask you about. Velcro, no Velcro at the Met. Tell us why.
We try not to, because it makes a noise. Rip. Makes a noise.
I had a different guess, which is it is over time not as durable. Like it
Correct.
loses its
You have to
stick.
keep replacing it. But that happens to snaps after a while too. They get a little worn and sometimes you have to exchange them.
But I guess you're right. Like we can't have people out there producing that amazing sound and then all of a sudden
rip. No. So we don't use it. But for the most part. And there are exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, so this leads to it's a joy to see you. It may not be a joy to be running around like that, but it is really a joy to see you like in action doing that work and seeing like this. I'm also every person that I've talked to from the Met in Career Corner, I'm just like your intelligence and organizational skills in putting those puzzles together and then making sure that you can keep track of all of it is bonkers to me.
It was a little bit more challenging because I'm much older. On Broadway, I did a show, Victor Victoria, where I had to change the lead like 14 times. But it was like 30 years ago. You know, so to have to revisit that was like, are you kidding me?
It is very physical. It's so physical.
It is. It's a long day. And remember, the morning before that, I did a rehearsal that day. And then I had to come back and do that. Exactly.
It makes me sleepy just thinking about it. You know, as a performer, I have to say, one of the things, I don't know why, but changes and quick changes always make me tired. And so when there's something where I'm like, there's one, I'm so lazy, where there's one costume, I'm like, one sticky costume I wear all night.
Very rarely happens in my world, but
rarely, I would think. So this leads right into this fantastic question from Lydia. Let's take a look.
I'm Lydia Rumfeld from New York, and I have a question for Susie. What was the most difficult costume to put on someone? Thank you.
Lydia, that is such a good question, and we've actually gathered some photos to share so that Susie can tell us about some of these looks that she's had to manage over time. And the first one, Susie, I believe is from Traviata. So let's take a look at that, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about this quick change. So it started with this
originally, when they did that one, it's a present production. I had a minute and a half to change the leading lady, Violetta, out of a nightgown into a ball gown, which is challenging in itself because it's hair, it's makeup, we're all around her. Opening night, Michael Meyer, the director, who also did Marnie, said, well, listen, we want to cut the overture a little. So you're going to lose some time, but it's you. And I know what you can do because of Marnie. So don't worry. And I was like, what? Honest, that's the true story. It went from a minute and a half to 48 seconds. I was like, dude, that's not, you know, but it's you, Suze. I know you can do it. And he's right, because I had done it on a prior production for, but it's the very different period ball gown versus a zipper You know what I mean?
Yes,
Up the back.
Victoria. Yes, Vikram. Whoa. And Susie is a flash. So
No.
with a costume like that, what were the fasteners? What were you dealing with those
Uh,
costumes?
well, because when they do stuff like that, I get to say how more or less the costume is made, what helps facilitate me, and the shop is great at doing that. So we'll talk with the cutter draper who makes, okay, this needs to be a zipper because I only have so many times. But the designer didn't want to see a zipper. So then there's this flap that sort of goes around and hooks in the front so that it hides the zipper, you know. So, you know, you come up with ways that everybody's happy. But still, I mean, you have to lay the costume out. I sort of did it like a donut. And then the shoes are in the middle. You puddle the dress. This is the way we do it Broadway. Yeah, the shoes are in the middle. And she comes out and I'm outside the booth. When she comes in, I'm behind her. I close the booth up, and the nightgown was a zipper, but that could be a zipper because you never saw her back. And then I unzipper the nightgown. She steps out, steps into the puddle ball dress with the shoes. There's someone in front of her doing the shoes. At the same time, the wig person is changing her long hair into an updo wig. And then the makeup person is going at her. And I'm, you know, getting the dress on and bringing the thing around. And then the person that's doing this dress with the wraparound piece actually hooks it in the front because I can't see it because I'm in the back. I mean, it's just it's choreography. It comes down to, you know, choreography backstage, and everybody knows what they have to do.
Esmeralda.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
It's OMG for sure.
Yeah.
Do you just when you are about to do that? Now I get the planning, I get the puddling the dress on the floor. This is actually such a good tip if you work on, for instance, your school's production of something. If you're helping on run crew, like these are good tips and tricks that you can use. Are you ever just like, I'm coming into the present moment? Do you have a mantra? Are you just like, I'm calming down and I'm like,
no, I actually get revved up. I'm very high energy. So
so you get revved up.
Oh yeah, no, it's like boom. I go in and I'm like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Everybody knows not to deal with me too much, other than the person I'm dressing, because it's like, nope, okay. And I'm also the head of a department, so I'm in charge of everybody's changes. And sometimes my ladies have issues, and at the same time, you kind of learn to be a little flexible because everybody's coming at you with questions. You know, yes, I have the bigger change, but you know, there are issues. Oh, her shoe just broke. What am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's like, can I get back to you? Let me do this quick change and I'll be with you in 5 seconds. You know, that kind of thing.
If something breaks down, if a fastener, you can't get it closed all the way, if the music cue is coming up, if the entrance is coming up, do you all just make a split-second decision about?
Yeah, you do. And usually it depends what's available. I mean, I wear this like a smock apron thing that you saw in the clip. It's like a photographer's vest. I've got everything.
All your tools.
Everything in there.
Is that your go-go gadget vest?
Yeah, that's my go-go gadget vest. It's very important to me.
Yeah.
I like the question.
What if you
hold it until you can?
Hold it. That's right.
You possibly can get there.
Yes.
That's simply, and actually I'm like a kid. Before you go in a car, you go before you. You know, I always do. It's the only way to do it. I mean, for getting real here.
Yeah. This is what you have to know.
These are fun questions. Yeah.
I think this is fair. So we don't have a picture of this, but you were talking about this production of The Tempest that Robert Lepage did.
Oh my God.
Tell us about the work that you were doing on that.
I definitely couldn't do that now because I'm older. My knees hurt. This was like 10 years ago, so it was much easier. There was a woman who came in a leotard down from some chandelier hanging. She was the Ariel character. And I was supposed to change her into another add pieces onto that unitard. And I literally had maybe 3 feet by 4 foot space because I was underneath a dining room table. And the pieces, I had to get creative with Velcro onto the underside of the table. And I just grab one and I put it on and she'd help. And I grab another because I physically could not get around her.
Wow.
To do up the back. So all the things open to the front because that's where she was facing me. And we were both on our knees. It was hilarious. And in order to get into the actual table, I was in black. The audience was on stage and so was the table gets pushed on. Then they had me crawl through the chorus in black without being seen. And basically the chorus was camouflaging me. And then I snuck in underneath the table. I mean, it was crazy. It was stupid.
Was that your Met on stage debut?
No, I've had many.
But you're under the table on stage debut.
Yes, yes. And then they the table comes apart to just add to the drama. It breaks apart. Half goes one way, half goes the other. I have to get up on this apparatus. They make me get my feet up, get rolled off stage, and I don't know what's going on because I'm still under this black tablecloth. And then they rap on the top of the table to tell me you're all clear, you're off stage. Yes. Yes, so I could get out of the table. Yes, this is what they make me do at the Metropolitan Opera.
You really do. This is another theme that we've heard all through these career corners, which is you have got to be a problem solver.
Yeah.
And sometimes under really tight time constraints, you have got to solve problems. But it's so funny because when we were talking to Peter Gelb, he was telling a story about Robert Lepage and how that, like, there was a lot of problem solving that goes on around Robert Lepage.
Yes.
And I think it sounds like Mr. Lepage really likes a good challenge.
Yes, he does.
That's right. Daphna, I agree, Mary. This person is a very fun person, and we're psyched that she's here. So there was we actually do have pictures of this. This is a Queen Elizabeth costume that you did, and can we see a picture of the first act and tell us what opera this is and what's happening here?
This is Maria Stuarda. No. That's a lie. This is Roberta Devereux because there are three. It's like a triptych. And that's Queen Elizabeth. And it was taken from a painting. And it was verbatim, the costume in the painting.
Wow.
And it was amazing. But it weighed. If it looks heavy, kids, it is. It weighed, I can't even, maybe 50 pounds, maybe more. And she wears it in the first act. And then in the last act, it's referenced while it's on a mannequin. But we didn't make two of these because they were very expensive, as you can tell. You know, it's very ornate. So I would take it off of her, put it in a wheelbarrow, and then there would be a mannequin on stage, and I dress the mannequin during intermission.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a fantastic upper body workout that you were getting by lifting that costume. So if your day is so busy that you can't get to the gym, Susie, that is
no. Yeah, no, there's no gym involved. On Sundays, my day off. Well, it used to be my day off. Now we work on Sundays. But
it seems like you have a built-in gym at the Met.
Yes.
From running up to your office, running down from your office, running those quick changes, lifting those 50-pound costumes. I feel like your workout is kind of built in. I agree, Vikram. It is awesome. And there's a great question from Emma coming in. What is the most stressing part of working backstage? It feels like many parts of your job are heightened. There's time sensitivity, but what is the most stressful part?
Making sure that the person I am dealing with, the singer, does not get any of that stress. Keeping their stress level down. So no matter what's going on in my little screwed up little world, I have to present a real united front and really be a calming influence, if that's such a thing with me, but a calming influence with the ladies that I dress. And trust comes into it. And with the repeat people that we get every year, the same old girls, they know they don't have to worry about that. My motto to them is, all I can do is get you up to that wing. From then on, it's on you. But until then, give it all to me. Seriously, give it all to me.
That's amazing. You almost create like a little force field around them and stress days out.
So. It's funny because my room is sort of the I'm right off stage. I'm the only wardrobe room right off stage. So when they come in, even for the first time and they're first in the house, they'll always come in and say hello. And I usually give them their little coffee and they sit down and catch up with what's happening in their lives. Sometimes they come in there to scream. Sometimes they come in there to cry. You know, it's a little refuge. And that's what it should be. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it should be, because everybody has emotional things going on in their lives, even though they're still performing. And so my job is to make sure, okay, I validate what you're saying. I understand what's going on. Now it's showtime. You know what I mean? And I'm able to help. It's interesting because I've learned to be a good psychologist. I didn't have any little skills prior to this job.
Victoria says, we
Bless
all
your
do,
heart,
Victoria.
Victoria.
We all want someone like Susie in our life, but I feel like you earned that right when you become one of these divas at the
Right.
Metropolitan
But
Opera.
do it
And there's
all with humor. See, here's the key. Humor. I make
humor.
everybody laugh. I'm constantly, everybody recognizes my laugh backstage
Yeah.
because that's just the way to deal with life. That's the way I deal with stress.
It's so cool that you're saying that. And I feel like that is another piece that you've woven into this work
Yeah.
that you do that
Yeah.
makes you so successful at it, is that you bring the good vibes and
Yeah.
you sort of keep the stressors and stuff at bay so those people can really focus on their job.
Yeah.
So if y'all are watching this and you have any interest in doing work like Susie does, that's a big part of it. Being that positive, sort of uplifting person that people want to work with. I think that's a big part of it. And it goes into that trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, it's joke o'clock. I was going to say, speaking of funny, it's joke o'clock.
Again.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Hit us with a good joke. Maybe I'll get one this time. Probably not, but here we go.
No, me neither.
This is from Jessica.
From Lebanon.
in Lebanon,
Mhm.
Oregon.
What do you
What
call-
do you call a fish without an eye? Hold on. What do you call a fish without an eye? I don't know. What do you call a fish without an eye? Jessica,
That is brilliant.
I'm going to tell you.
I'm going to remember. That is one I'm going to remember.
That's what I call a thinker. Like
Yeah.
it took me a minute. I had to
Yep.
think about it. But you're right. It is, Jessica, it's a fish. I also was like, how is this related to opera? But
Right.
it's just joke
It doesn't
o'clock.
matter.
It's not opera joke o'clock. It's
Bravo,
joke o'clock.
Jessica.
Well played. Well played. So now let's take a look at this video. This is from Orion. And I think this is a super exciting question. Here we go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Orion from New York, and I want to know, what is the coolest costume you've ever dressed someone in?
Orion, I love that question. And we have some pictures
Yes, you do.
while
Your
Susie
pictures
talks
of my
about.
favorite costume. My favorite costume was a production called Enchanted Island.
Yes.
And it was a mashup of different Shakespeare's. And that costume was amazing. It had this ornate cape made out of feathers, just pure feathers. And
Wow.
it weighed a bit too, actually. She was sitting down when I put it on her, though. And then she got up and I'd fix it. But it's Joyce DiDonato, and she plays Sycorax. And it was a great show. And it had it had a diver's costume. It had mermaids.
Wow.
And the designer, I can't remember his last name. It's Kevin. Sorry, Kevin, but I do a lot of these.
We love you, Kevin.
And I mean, the scenery, he did both the scenery and costumes. And what he did, because in this case, they didn't have such a huge budget, you'd never know it looking at these costumes. I mean, his mind is unbelievable. I
You
mean,
would never guess that
Nope.
that is a look
Nope.
on a budget.
nope. I mean, honestly, it took my breath away. It was like real costuming, like, when you saw those MGM musicals. It reminded me of that time, and it was beautifully done. And there's a shipwreck in it that is just will make your mind go crazy. I mean,
This
it was
is-
really good.
This is one of the reasons why it's so cool. Like when I finally did get to come to New York, when I finally did get to visit the Metropolitan Opera,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they will have the costumes displayed in glass
Yeah, in the
cases,
cases.
like in the
Mhm.
lobby. And it's so mind blowing because you see it at a distance and you might be like, that's a beautiful ball gown.
Right.
And then you see it up close and
Right.
the work, just like the
The workmanship, yeah.
craftsmanship and
Yep.
the beating and
Yep.
it is bananas.
Time consuming. That stuff is time. And, they have a very little amount of time because they're just producing one right after the other,
Yeah. So cool. So here's a great question from Ellie from Portugal. Let's take a look.
Oh, Portugal. Yay.
Yeah.
I love Portugal.
Hi, my name's Ellie, and I'm from Lisbon in Portugal. My question for Susie is, how long does it take to put on a ball dress and all the accessories?
So how long does it take to put on a ball dress? And
Depends
all
on how
of-
much time they give you.
depends
because
on how much
sometimes-
time they give you.
Sometimes you can actually change in the dressing room area, which the Met is like a football field. It's a very, very large stage. It's one of the
Huge.
largest stages in New York City.
Yeah.
And to get from stage left to the dressing rooms is not a problem. But if you're on stage right, it could take you a couple of minutes to get back there. And then you have to change them. And then they have to get back on stage. So if it's longer than 10 minutes, that's how we determine whether they change off stage or on stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that can be done, and the complexity of the costume as well. Some are easier than others to get in. For instance, like Marnie, she was off stage for seconds, so they were all off stage. The Traviata had to be done on stage because you only had 46 seconds. But if you have more than between 8, I could even come back in the room in 8 seconds and put a ball gown on. I've done it. So it depends. Depends where she comes in on the song. You
are like a magic person.
No, that's determined by stage management. Like we get together and we talk, well, how complicated, how much time does she have? Does she exit stage right or stage left? In some cases, they've actually changed exits for me to make it easier.
Yeah, but that's that puzzle, everybody working together, all the departments working together.
And they have to.
It occurred to me that like you are a human person who makes things look like magic.
I don't make magic. I allow the magic to happen. I enhance the magic, but the magic is made by somebody else. I just put it on them. I like to say, trying to be humble, that I'm a glorified laundress because I do people's laundry for the most part, and I put their clothes on. You know what I mean?
You have to do a lot of like laundry, ironing, all I'm guessing
stuff has to be prepped every time it's worn.
Do you like ironing at home? Do you do
I
ironing?
love ironing at home. When I was a little girl, I went to Catholic school and I needed my
your uniform
shirts, my uniform, blouses. And I mean, I'm talking the old fashioned dip them in starch when I was little kind of thing. I love ironing. It's like my meditative thing. And once a week, I'll do all the laundry, hang all the stuff that has to be. And then during TV, I'll just sit there and iron all my husband's and my clothes. And it's my favorite. It's like my Zen place.
Okay, this is another example of something that you loved and you were good at when you were little.
Yes.
And then you worked it into your job somehow.
Yes.
And also, you have an open invitation to come to my house. Just want to say it. Okay, so let's hear from another. This is another person from Lisbon. Let's hear from Lucia.
Oh, wow.
Here we go.
Hi, my name is Lucia, and I live in Lisbon, Portugal. My question for Susie is, how do you keep all the dresses organized and know who wears what dresses and jewelry? Thank you.
Great question, because we know from our previous conversations, so many clothes, so many dresses.
I wish we were at work because this is actually you need a visual for this, but we have these little dividers with their names and the character on it, and the costume is right next to it. And included with each hanging costume is all the jewelry that they wear with that costume in a little bag. And everything is inventoried, and we know if something's missing because it's right on the bag. But it stays together. And the reason it stays together is because, okay, she could do this one in the room, but costume act 1.3 is done on stage. So then that all travels to stage together. Do you see what I mean? Things never get screwed up that way. Or at least ideally they shouldn't.
Yeah, it's just a lot to keep track
they stay
of.
together in little bags that stay with the actual costume it's worn with. But there are these little dividers that'll have the names so they separate the characters.
It's occurring to me as you speak so I do a lot of movies, and it's occurring to me that how much I rely on the wardrobe department when I step into my trailer or on location and I go, oh, they tell me what we're filming today because they're organized and they put out the costume that we're doing. And I rely on that so much because sometimes it's in film and television, we have something called a call sheet, and they're hard to read.
I've done some movies as well.
It's hard to read, and it's very little. The print is very little, and how much I rely on the wardrobe department to basically point me in the right direction.
Right. Right.
It's true. It's true. So I want to make sure that we hear from all these amazing campers who sent in videos. So this is a video all the way from Oman. Let's take a look.
Oh, Oman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Shivangina. I live in Muscat, Oman. I wanted to know if you ever had to repair clothes in the middle of the performance, or do you have spare ones? Thank you.
This is such a good question.
An excellent question, Shivangana. I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
No, there usually isn't a spare, and if it is, it's usually a different size for the cover, because they don't. Very rarely do they share costumes if they can help it. Yes, I have had to repair. In which case, like, let's say there's a big rip on a ruffle on a skirt or something like that. In which case, the next time she takes it off during an intermission, I can repair it for the second act. Unfortunately, while it's ripped on stage, there's not a heck of a lot I can do unless she has a moment where she actually physically comes off stage. And then they'll call me to the wings and there'll be like two of us just sewing like crazy trying to repair it. But that happens sometimes. That's why I have the best with all the stuff. Again, I wish we were at work so you could see this.
I know. It is amazing though, because you must be counting down the seconds and listening to the music and knowing that that singer has to make an entrance again and just stitching in time as fast as possible.
Those are days you don't want. It rarely happens, praise you God. But when it does, it's like, okay, let's hope we make this.
It really is. When Anthony said it's sort of like the pit crew, it is sort of like race cars.
It is a pit crew. I mean, that's what you do.
It's true. It's crazy. I always like to play a round of roses and thorns here in the Career Corner. So let's start with the thorns. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
Other people.
The challenges that other people present. I feel like that's true for so many of us in our jobs and for students at school.
Let me do my job. Get out of the way.
People in my way. And what is your very favorite part of the job? What are the roses? What's your favorite?
A lot of the singers are really lovely.
Yeah.
And I've ended up with some really good friendships beyond, this. Like Deanna Demerol called me week 1 of the quarantine. Are you guys okay? And I've spoken to a lot of the ladies and texted a lot of the ladies actually. They're true blue. It's like when I go to Europe, I meet Natalie Dessay. When I go to France every year, and you meet up. I've met up in Sydney with Patricia Rosset. And you get to know them. You get to really, really have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
On a separate level. Anna Netrebko, you can do no wrong. She is like, I call her my crazy girl because she's crazy energy, but boy, she is a joy. Very much to the point where sometimes it's more fun than just work. I forget the times I'm at work. It's part of my job, but because I'm having such a good time, it doesn't seem like work.
I think that is so cool. And I understand that in story time just a moment ago, Angel Blue was sharing a story and reading a story to the campers, and Angel Blue was sending her love to you. So these are, because you're working so closely.
Yeah, it's intimate.
It is. It's really, really close.
Yeah.
And I think there's something important in what Susie is saying too, which is, and we've talked about it in the Career Corner before, people want to work with people who are great at their jobs and really fun to be around.
Yeah.
So as you move through the world, campers, just keep that in mind. Like, people want to work with, don't all of you? We all want to work with people who we love.
And there are a lot of sour people out there who don't enjoy what they're doing or are really stick in the muds. They're like, Susie, stop laughing. I'm like, no, I'm going to laugh. Because you know what? That's what life's about. You know what I mean? You can't. You can't. Listen, don't stifle me because you're unhappy.
There you go. There's your thorn. Yeah. Let's hear from another camper. This is all the way from Uruguay. Here we go.
Oh, Uruguay.
Love it.
My name is Marilia and I'm from Montevideo, Uruguay. I have 2 questions for Susie. The first one is, can you use the same costumes for for different operas? And the second one is, for one specific opera, do you always use the same costumes? Thank you, bye.
All right. So, can you ever use the same costumes for like two different operas, Susie?
That's very rarely been done, only because different characters, sizing wise, they don't always match up.
Yeah.
When it comes back, when an opera comes back, in other words, it's played one year and it comes back the second year, the costumes are the same costumes have been altered for that person that's wearing them, and then they re-alter them for the next group of people. But we don't share costumes if we can help it. I mean, and also the way the show goes away, the Met is I don't really know how to explain, but if you imagine that you're using something, it's like a Rubik's Cube, and there are things coming in and out constantly. So that would be a whole other thing if you had to keep track of what's left the building. Oh, we need blah, blah, blah from this. The only thing that does get used, the only thing is I provide a robe, a dressing robe for every woman that's doing. And in something like The Ring, very many of them were in the same character in a different opera. So I kept their robe for them, and it would travel with whatever show they were doing at that time.
Oh. And when you're doing it for one specific opera, do you always use the same costumes?
Yes, unless there's a real size difference, and then they'll make me another.
Got it.
But,
And then I'm guessing also sometimes they'll have like a production and a new director will come in and new designers with a new vision, and that would be a time.
Oh yeah, no, very rarely. Everybody wants their own stamp on everything. I mean, that's the whole point. I guess. I'm not a designer, but you want to make it yours.
Yeah, exactly. So, Susie, can I just ask you, like, what qualities do you feel like, you've said some of them already, but what qualities do you feel like make you good at your job?
Besides humor?
Humor's good.
I am a quick thinker.
Yes.
I'm a decisive thinker.
Yeah.
I don't vacillate. You never not know what I'm not thinking, because, and then it's like, okay.
You're like, boom.
You just got to be quick on your feet. And you have to really listen. That's really important, because sometimes it's not about just what's going on stage. You know what I mean? You have to really, that's not what's going on. She's upset because the baby's kept her up all night. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then you have to just clue into that kind of stuff. So I think empathy is big. At least it's something I've worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And who would guess what makes like a world-class successful person who does the kind of work you do? It are things, yes, you have to have all those skills, and then also things like humor, empathy, listening. I think that's super interesting. So we had a great question the very first week of camp from Isla in Bangor, Maine, and I've made it part of these interviews ever since. I think I owe you now, Isla, like $1.75 for this question. It's adding up every week. But the question is, if you didn't have this job, what else would you like to do?
I like clothes so much. Well, there's two dream careers. I'd either be a writer.
Oh.
Because I read a lot. I still even read a lot. And I've traveled the world so many times. Or, this is going to make you laugh, a wedding coordinator. Because I love bride dresses so much.
Susie, that's perfect though, because you're calm under pressure. You're a great listener. You're decisive.
The skills I have. Yes.
Oh no, this is great. This is great. That'll be your next chapter. I don't think the Met's ever going to let you go though. So
Yeah.
And a writer. What kind of writer do you think you'd be?
You know what? Based on, it'd be it'd be fictional. It would be fictional, but based on maybe real people I know.
Like maybe historic fiction?
Like
Opera-related historic fiction?
Maybe characters that take a little from this one, a little from that one. You never Woo!
I love it. That's going to be your next job. Oh,
bless you,
Carrie, I love her too. Susie is amazing. You have such an interesting job. You have had such an interesting life. Before we let you go, is there any good advice that you want to share with all of us?
To young people, do what you love. Do what you love or have interest in. Never say no to any job, even if it's not related, because at some point it will be. You know, what you do. So at some point you're going to use those skills for something else. So, you know, just keep putting yourself out there and have faith in yourself that it will all come true, because life is about wonderful surprises as well. You know, not just bad things happen. And you just have to keep the faith and keep true to yourself and know and really know that it will all work out and you will be doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Ah, Susie, listen, on behalf of everyone watching, you've heard it all through it. You've seen it in the chat. You've heard it all through this interview.
Bless you, darling.
This has been so great. We are so
Thank you for
honored
having me.
that
It's been
you took
great,
the
kid.
time.
Go
Miranda
live
says,
your life. Live your life and live a good one.
don't let her
Quarantine
go.
alone.
Susie, we're so thankful to have the opportunity to learn from you today. And we wish you the best. And I can't wait to meet you in person at the Met.
Yeah, I'll be there. Take
Bye,
care. God
Susie.
bless. God bless you all. Stay safe. Wear those masks.
Can you believe, can you believe her? She's the best. She's the best of the best. She's just the greatest. And I feel like, Lena's saying, yeah, we really enjoyed you, Susie. You're so talented. You're so fun. Thank you, Susie from Emma. We really see why people love working with you. You're right, Miriam. Susie is wonderful. And just remember this, as you're thinking about what you want to do with your life, like, it's really like, be great at your job and also just be great, because people will love to work with you. So you'll always have work. Huff Steph, thanks to you for being here. Thanks for watching. Thank you to Susie. That was just the best, just the BEST best. So coming up next week on the Career Corner, this is going to be something. Nancy Novograd, who trains all the live animals that perform on the Met stage, is going to be here with us. It gives me chills just thinking about it. I love animals, and I cannot wait to hear some of the stories that Nancy has to share. You know, she's got some amazing stories. If you have any questions for Nancy, would you please, we love these video questions so much, and you can send them to summercamp@metopera.org. And don't forget, campers, tomorrow is our camper showcase at 12 noon Eastern time. If you haven't submitted your creations, you still have time. You can submit them through the Google Classroom or email them to summercamp@metopera.org. Y'all, I love this so much. This is like my best life, getting to be in the Career Corner with these people and getting to spend time with you all from around the world. So I thank you, and I cannot wait to see you next week.